Welcome to my channel. You're on BookTube, and today it's going to be an AuthorTube video, so if that doesn't interest you, you can go away, but it is the 4th week of the month, I think, and so that's when I typically try to drop in author content, wedge it in there between the book videos. So today, since what I'm doing is editing, I figured I'd give an editing report and tell you how it's going. So, I'd like to preface this with some disclaimers or caveats. I guess it's not a caveat, disclaimers. That everyone edits books differently, and so everyone's process is different as an author, but also every book's process is different and can be unique. So, for example, I have 5 books that I have had edited and published, and they're very different processes. I've had them crowdsource edited, I've had them beta read, I've had them professionally edited, I've had 2 come back with developmental edits that meant I needed to rework substantial chunks, like a third of the book, and sort of change the direction it was going. Ended up being a good thing, so that was good. And so I'm learning as I go, but I've also learned that it changes every time you do the book, and so you just sort of have to learn a new thing every time you're on a new book, unfortunately. So that's been an ongoing process. And there are other things that authors do differently. For example, I've heard of authors working on more than one book at a time. Usually this means that they're doing different stages of the book process. So they'll be promoting a book as it's released, and then after that they'll go into editing, and then after that they'll go into drafting, and they'll have sort of 3 projects but different phases. And that makes more sense to me, even though it's very stacked and sort of stressful feeling. But I also know authors who are writing or drafting multiple projects at once, and that sort of makes my brain feel like scrambled eggs, because I could definitely not use that same energy in different projects. I feel like if I ever did that, I'd be weakening it, diluting it, and putting the creative passion in so many different ways. Because just like if you're, well, like me, just like if you're trying to do a bunch of tasks and you do a little on all of them, you don't get very far on any of them. In some fields, that's fine, like what I'm doing right now across the board, but with writing, I feel like the intensity and concentration that is necessary for having a story that is several hundred pages cohere needs a lot of like focus, so that precludes me from that camp. There's also the tactic of just putting it out there and having the writing process be sort of its own thing. You write, you edit, you proofread, you get a cover, and you fling it out the window, because really what you're interested in is the creating process and not the marketing or the selling or all that other stuff we authors have to do these days. And that doesn't really feel like my style either, because I feel like it's not reflecting a deep care for the book if you don't care about its reception. On the one hand, you don't want to have your ego affected by other people's opinions of your work at a deep level. You don't want to have other people tell you what you're worth. But I feel like if I am putting something into a book that is a message that I care about, that I care that gets to people, I have to care about that last mile, that last step that it goes through, because that's the message getting to people. And if it's not being communicated, or if it's not even getting seen, then I haven't completed the process, I feel like. Well, there's just your garden variety procrastination.
There's an awful lot of that these days.
Everyone has lots of things to get done in their life, and writing often has to be prioritized to get done and pushed through consistently. And like I said, I'm doing a lot of things and making a little progress on a lot of things. So the issue with that, with editing, is that because I don't find joy in editing, or flow like I do when I'm drafting, because I'm a pantser by nature, I have to sort of steel myself or brace myself or gin up my courage to get into this flow state that you need for editing well, that I need for editing well. And in order to do that, it takes a lot of self-talk. It takes a lot of convincing, which is like a waste of energy, right? So you have to say, I know I can do this, I will do this, and sort of get yourself over this hump of procrastination, self-doubt, procrastination. Did I say that? Yeah. Just, it's a lot of internal stalling for doing something that you are afraid will fail. I think that's definitely what's at the core of it. So, each time that I've done this in the past few weeks, it's been like a train going up a hill so I can push myself over and do a big chunk of editing work at a time. But then the longer there is of a space in between those, the less coherence and concentration I can really bring to bear on the work, which is a problem. But I am 4,000 words away from finishing the second run through of this manuscript. And while I wish I had more words that were not bracketed, because as Shay was saying, she brackets things that she needs to check or research or do more work on. I wish I had taken more of those out, but I had to choose between going down the rabbit hole to find out the research about the thing, or keeping going on the line editing to make sure that the story flows and I'm getting the whole work in a sort of better shape. So I'm almost through the second run, and I'll need to do another round of research and fact-checking or detail finding. Which brings me to my final point about the editing report, is that for me, the big editing questions tend to get swallowed by the small editing questions. I have a big Q and a little q here. And what I'm trying to do, the message that I'm trying to get across in this book, is representing marginalized experiences truly, meaning showing them in all their courage and all their grime and in all their pathos. And in order to do that, I want to get everything right, but realistically, all those brackets that I have in the text, they don't need to be right for me to send it off and ask someone about the caliber of the project. So it's like get it done. The smaller editing questions are things like, how many times has she tried to get into this industry? Or when is it best to show the love interest develop? Or which historical figure should I make her mentor? And these are the things that I have placeholders for, and I keep hesitating about making a decision and wanting to go back and check things and make sure it's the right one. And it's preventing me from getting further on the grander vision of, am I representing this experience truly? So that has been my learning of the past week. I've done some editing. I'm almost done with the second pass. I have more research to do. But it's a little bit of progress. So, keeping the faith. And I like this quote of E.L. Doctorow's, which most authors have heard of. I'll read it so I don't get it wrong, which I always do. Writing is like driving a night in the fog. You can only see as far as your headlights, but you can make the whole trip that way. And I'll just edit that to say that what it feels like for me editing at this point in the process is, if you've ever read the American Girl Meet Kirsten books, where I think they're in Wisconsin or Minnesota or South Dakota, one of those states where they have snowstorms and they get blizzards. And she has to find her way back through a snowstorm by following the posts on a fence. That's what it feels like to me. There's wind, there's moisture, there's stinging rain in my face, and I can't see where I'm going, but I'm going post by post by post, slowly but surely. And now we have an interloper here who's going to steal the scene. Thank you, Bean. And I'll just say, as this is the AuthorTube week, that I'm going to be on Historical Novel Society's conference page. They have a really cool setup on EventMobi, and there's a chat wall, and there are conversation rooms, and there's all sorts of interactive things. So if by chance you're over there, look me up and send me a line. Tell me what talks you're going to, because there's a lot of interesting sounding ones. So there we go. That's our monthly AuthorTube topic, and after this I'm going to go back onto the conference page, do some talking about book marketing and the Gilded Age, both of which I'm immersed in at the moment, and planning more videos. So thanks for stopping by. Tell me if you've got an editing project under your belt and you fall under one of these camps, and I'll see you next time.